To me, a lot of this season was that Don and Peggy have an irreparable relationship.
Yeah, no shit.
Well, he has been instrumental.
We've worked our way back to the point where Don is working for Peggy, behaving himself.
It comes
His
back
job now
around.
is a cheerleader and to agree with the boss.
What do you think?
Don is playing the part, the role he was cast in since he came back to the agency, which was as an underling. It's right on strategy.
Yes,
It's
you can't
exactly
handle
what they
that.
wanted. He is a soldier, and he's trying to be a good soldier. He has no power. Having realized that, he has to suck it up, toe the company line, and say whatever the boss wants.
Kiss that ass.
I think that our success would be further assured if Don delivered the presentation.
You can't handle that.
Now that we've suggested Don, I have to let him do it, because once the idea is out there, he'll be great. If she pitches it and they don't win the account, it'll be her fault.
I didn't think about that. That's a really good point.
I don't think it's them handing the pitch to Don that makes her spiral. It's Don when he just makes a little comment about how he's been noodling around with another idea.
You know, I was just noodling around with the idea
That
of
was it
seeing
right
the whole
there.
thing from the kid's perspective.
Twist that.
And that just gets in her head.
I appreciate it, but we already have a strategy.
She knows him well enough to know that if he's doing that, her idea is not the best idea.
Yep.
There is something else out
You're
there.
goddamn right. You can't take it.
A lot of this episode is about growth. Pete realizes that his dalliance with Bonnie is not the same as having a family.
Bonnie was awesome, man. He
Wants to
should
see
have given that a
Trudy
chance.
alone. And
Dumbass.
of course, she's not there. Where's Trudy? She's out, Mr. Campbell. And that
All he cares about
benevolent
is
kind
fucking
of
Trudy.
happy attitude
Literally
he
and
was going to
figuratively.
have, and carefree attitude he was going to show towards her, quickly sours, and he can't hold back his anger and disdain and hurt.
Oh, hello. Did you just get back?
No, but you did.
Yeah.
He's still jealous
So
and he has
pissed.
feelings. And he misses the family part of it.
We're getting a divorce.
We're still married.
I wish you had, but apparently not.
You're not part of this family anymore.
He can't
She
deal
just
with the
stuck to her
fact that his
guns.
wife may actually move on without him. He's had everything at this point, but it's really going to be gone. He doesn't have a role there.
Get your ass out of here.
It's soured his
Oh, you
relationship
messed
to
up the
realize
cake.
that he threw away that
Kissy
family.
little bitch.
Peggy, I'm here to help you do whatever you want to do. I think it's a genuine offer of, like,
Yeah.
I know what you're going through, and let me help.
She
Well.
can't do it, man.
How am I supposed to know?
You'll never know. That's just the job.
What's the job?
Living in the not knowing.
Having Don back in the office is difficult because she admires him so much. So she's sort of trying to figure out, you really want to help me? Show me how you think.
Oh, shit.
Do it out loud. What is it that he's thinking that I'm not thinking? What is it that he has that I
It's
don't
driving her
have?
crazy, man.
It takes a real stab
She's gonna
at
start
her
cutting off nipples.
confidence.
What did I do wrong?
Don is actually a mentor and not a destructive force or
Exactly.
self-serving.
You're doing great.
He's not trying to play her.
Don is there the way Peggy's been there for him.
She's in a sort of vulnerable place.
Come on.
Her confidence is kind of shot and she's sort of confused.
The
She
moment
has
of
two
them
speeds.
dancing, here she is having to deal with
No
living in the
confidence
not
or
knowing.
egomaniac. There's
And
no in
that
between.
phrase is what the episode's about.
That's one of those moments that, like, what am I going to say about it? It is what it is. It's so beautifully written, and when I heard it was going to happen, I was like, yes, that's perfect. And it's old friends.
Yep. Calm down.
The real bottom of this story is who is your family?
Yep.
That scene at the end with Peggy and
Harry's
Don
not here,
and
you notice
Pete
that?
sitting there.
That's
Sounds
why he
very
didn't matter in-
sentimental,
in the
and as
finale.
Don said, there's nothing wrong with that. But that is a family. That made up advertising family. Maybe it never existed, but it's gone. Who's your family now?
Yep.
Look around you.
And Harry gets up and doesn't squander the goodwill I've just generated.
God damn, man.
Now we just have to pray everything goes smoothly on the moon.
The moon mission connects to the story in various ways, and yet it's also a sign of how separate we are.
You got this letter this morning, and it's very upsetting news.
What's happening with Don when he gets the letter is he's frustrated because he's been doing his best to do his
You
job.
get nothing.
Are they firing you?
It's a bit of a surprise. I don't know. I think Don thought that his
They were
plan
never
might
giving you a
go
chance.
another way. He obviously needs to take some kind of action.
Eat by us.
Don is outraged that this is not over. He is still dealing with the fact that the agency doesn't really belong to him. He wants to know where he stands, but he definitely wants everyone to do it in person.
Yeah.
Hey!
What's going on?
Here she is,
Finally,
pissed
John's
again.
in a position to be contributing and decision making.
furious.
She knows that Don is very, very talented and that he's an asset.
She's
But
doing
he's
it again.
messing
Look.
up.
Pete just doesn't share that viewpoint.
Yeah.
And so he sees what
Just
she
shut
does
out my
as
face.
disloyalty.
Pete appreciates Don and
Yeah.
appreciates Don's talent.
I really love the way their relationship
I
evolved.
think he's trying to prove his point. All opposed? Motion denied.
This
This is an action that did not go through the right channels.
I don't know if she feels Cutler has stepped on her toes. He stepped on toes. That's not how things work.
Right.
You shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, exactly, dumbass. She kind of played both sides there.
We've seen the tensions on that long distance relationship as Don's been working his way up in the company.
I guess I could see it as an opportunity. I think he feels a responsibility. It might be guilt.
When
Might
has
be
he
a lot
ever
of
felt
things.
responsible?
I could finally move out there.
She don't want that shit.
Don.
There are people in
Too
the
late.
world that solve emotional problems with emotions or truth, and there are people who solve emotional problems with money.
That's not.
Whatever you need. I owe you that.
Tony Soprano was the
It
same
was
way.
a visit into reality of how things really end.
Brunette woman. That's what his wife's been reduced to.
Bert was a touchstone for Don for many, many years, and for good and bad. He respected Bert's opinion. He respected Bert's place in the company.
Cooper's death
That was
is
a
a
lot.
great loss to everyone in this company.
Poor Bert.
And I think it brings Roger into a position where he realizes that this
Yeah.
man was like his father and that
Exactly.
he has maybe one more move in his pocket to drive the business as an adult, to show that he has a vision, to save the family.
They've been down this road before
Everybody's gonna
several
leave.
times. So it's always dicey. It can come with hurt feelings, but I think Don definitely recognizes it's a escape hatch.
It's a showdown that's really based on power.
Yeah.
It's just like everyone else in the office. When you hear those numbers,
Yep.
you'd be foolish not to take it.
Exactly.
Percent share is worth a
But she
little
is
over
not gonna get that
$1.5 million.
She won't get that all though.
There's
She
a
gets
little
what,
bit of fist
10%
clenching
of it or something,
with
20%?
Ted.
He doesn't like Chop because if you don't have any fight left in you, then I don't want you on my team.
Yeah, no
I
shit.
know you. I know the man who I walked into Chevy with. You don't have to work for us, but you have to work. I think Don maybe sees Ted making some of the same mistakes that he made
Yeah.
and wants to be a
They'll be
little
an idiot.
cautionary tale for him. You don't want to see what happens when it's really gone.
Okay, so of all the people who did this vote, how many of them were left at McCain by the end of the series? We're talking about Roger and Pete, right? Like, Ted kind of fell by the wayside. I forget what happened to him. I'm sure we'll reach a point where, like, he may have left the company at some point. I can't remember. I think it's just Roger and Pete, of all the people who voted. Now, they imply Don comes back, but, like, that none of that was on screen. It was just implication, so who the fuck knows? So, what we actually saw on screen, 2, maybe 3 of these people are still with McCain. Joan got fucked. I think it was 50%. I think she only got 50 cents on the dollar. But, so she didn't get the money she was expecting. So, guess she got enough where she could start her own company. But yeah, it's kind of interesting how this seemed like the obvious move. It seemed like it benefited everybody, and it only benefited about 40% of the people in the room. That's very interesting. That's right. Raise your fucking hand.
Don, my boy.
Yes. Tell us about
I
this.
think is very much present in his mind and very much a part of Don moving forward. Bert,
Love that guy.
what's it
Love
going to
the
be
actor.
like without this guy who's been the figurehead of the company for many, many years?
This fantasy in his mind, it's a message from his subconscious that in the wake of all of this, they've actually lost somebody. Very
Yeah,
important
no
to them.
shit.
Cooper's loss is really about life itself. It's not about money or anything like that. What is the real value of success? You still have your life on the other side of it.
This even hits more
That's
after he
the
dies.
one.
Robert Morse has been an essential part of the show. He created this character. We're 50-50 on Bert Cooper.
So much yarn, so little time.
His eccentricities as an actor
One of my favorite
have been a great
characters.
gift. You never
I'm glad we're all better now.
his ability to go between playful and terrifying. He really seems like a titan of business.
Don,
Yeah,
there's no
he
need
does.
for defense. This isn't a trial.
You're out.
The verdict has been reached.
Yeah, you're out, bitch.
To have that weight and that authority and that capriciousness and heart, a heart even under dire times.
Would you say I know something about you, Don?
One or two
We'll
things.
have to lock you in the storeroom until morning. I'm sure you understand.
Don,
my boy.
Because we don't trust you, bitch.
Bert?
This episode was really about the life not lived, both in Ken's story and in Don's story.
Do I know you?
I don't think so.
When Don has that interaction in the diner with the waitress, he thinks he recognizes her. And then, of course, he has this dream about Rachel Menken.
Right. That was great.
Rachel?
There's the idea
The
of
life
like,
not
well,
lived.
what if I had married Rachel Menken?
Right.
What, maybe I should go and find her and see what happened.
Yeah. That sucked.
And then when he finds out that Rachel has
Her life
passed
sucked.
away, that avenue is closed to him.
I'm sorry. I don't know what you're looking for here.
I think it just
He doesn't either.
opens the wound for him.
Life not lived as well.
Ken's story equally is, here's a chance for him. His father-in-law is retiring. His wife wants him to go off and finally write his novel.
Do you know how great you're gonna look on a book jacket?
I've thought about it.
He should write pirate stories.
I'm a hell of a lot better at it than I ever was at this.
And then he gets fired the next day, and unfortunately, he doesn't pick the life of writing.
Yeah.
He picks the life of revenge and stays in the business.
I'm going to be your client.
Good shit.
And I hate to tell you, but I'm very hard to please.
Yeah.
Until we meet again.
They deserve this. They always treat him like shit.
So they're worried that legs are gonna spread all over the world?
This
That
shit.
wouldn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
There wasn't
Hardy
a female art director at McCann Erickson until 1975. There were copywriters. There definitely wasn't a female creative director.
So McCann's a real place. I didn't know.
Lunch? I want to burn this place down.
We had a talk with Christina.
I didn't know that
about
McCann was a real place.
She should just dress like she always dressed. And there's finally a confrontation between Joan and Peggy where Peggy just says, what's your expectation?
At least we got a yes. I don't expect you to understand. Joan, you've never experienced that before. Have you, Peggy?
Joan uses this as an attempt to say to Peggy, you don't have the same problems as I do because you don't look like me, which I think is
Oh,
probably the
shit.
meanest thing that she's ever said to her. Peggy has a lot of excuses for why things shouldn't work out.
I had too much wine and I
She always
totally
does.
embarrassed myself.
She does this a
That
lot.
goes along with the theme of the life not lived. On
Right.
the one hand, there is the joy
A
of
very
the
thematically
impulsive
consistent
meeting and the
episode.
love at first sight and her reluctance to get into this completely. And then in the end, she's just sort of like, am I really going to do that?
Yeah.
And you just have to see sort of how people close the doors on themselves sometimes.
I should go.
You really
You can
should
tell
go.
from the beginning of the episode that you're looking at Don looking back on his life.
Yeah.
He has no family. He destroyed that.
Dumbass.
Don has a lot, but he is alone.
Yep.
He's really looking for the next part of his life.
Can I get you something
But
from the
first, never
bar? Are
happened.
you expecting?
You again.
Hello?
Now I know I've
When
seen
Don
you
has
before.
that interaction in the diner with the waitress, we don't know anything about this woman, but we do know that she's radiating something. She's cut from the same cloth as Don.
Maybe
I'm
that's why he's
divorced.
using her.
Well, I happen to be in the same boat.
We find out that she is actually wounded. They're sort of united in grief. And Don is grieving. Don is
Yeah.
grieving his second real marriage, the third on paper. He is a wounded man. And they have a painful bond.
That never lasts.
You smell incredible.
Don really falls in love in this episode. The one thing we knew he couldn't tolerate was her leaving her child.
Right.
And she knows it too.
I'm out of here.
How could you be out of money?
Why am I explaining myself to you?
It was becoming increasingly obvious that Don probably had some bitterness about his relationship with Megan, which
You
was
fucked it up.
a symptom of his guilt.
Like I said.
He knows that he entered into that relationship impulsively, and her independence and her growth as a human being was not part of his plan. The guilt that he bears and how he treats himself because of it
He
is
wanted to
really
be a stay-at-home woman.
it's a big
right?
part of who he is and a big part of
Never
what's
gonna
going on
happen.
in this season.
Évidemment, tu t'en fous. T'auras pas à le dire à tes enfants. She's been very unhappy for a very long time.
Yeah.
At least you did something about it.
Megan really sums up the episode when she
Exactly.
says about her mother to her sister. She was really unhappy for a long time, and she did something about it.
Exactly. That does line up.
The Marie Roger
That was great,
Megan
man.
thing
I
is
love
sort of
this
about
fellowship.
Marie's liberation, and I love the idea too that now Megan knows about Roger and Marie.
Look at him grinning. He loves this shit.
And sort of,
He's here for the best.
it isn't a big deal. Who cares? But it is.
Look
Pima
at him.
Ryan, this is our art director.
He's a maniacal little pixie.
Peggy thing is about asking for what you want. And the two of them get used.
This
must
dude's
show me your work.
diabolical.
I don't know.
Stan is insecure enough that Pima gets to him by telling him how bad he is. And of course, Peggy, her attempt to be the boss, she's rewarded with the fact that this woman's a hustler.
Yep.
Why did I believe the things you said to me? You're nothing but a liar. An aging, sloppy,
Oh, not
selfish liar.
Take back
It's
sloppy and
important
I'll
to
give you
know
half.
where Megan is and what she was left with.
You're gonna write me a check? Are you kidding me?
No.
Motherfucker
She
give
gets
away
that $1
millions.
million from Don. I can't even tell you. You can do the math, how much money that is.
Yeah.
That is a very guilty move.
Oh, yeah.
Don lost a lot
Yep.
in his attempt to pay for his mistakes.
You got nothing. Just the way he threw away money, man, it was really starting to get to me. Because that's what he does, man. Everything's transactional to him.
This episode was about the future, and it's the time to take stock of the journey.
I'd like to be the first woman creative director at this agency.
I'm impressed that
1975.
you know exactly.
I guess I'm trying to say
Who
she
says that?
turns out to be that person, right?
That's what I'm asking.
In the scene with Peggy, I think is where you really see that Don doesn't have an answer and that he wishes he had specifics. And what does it mean when you got what you wanted? What else do you want?
Yeah,
They
exactly.
have everything that they need.
Hello?
What a shit show.
But the fact is, he can't sell this apartment. The real estate agent is quite forward with him in saying, there's nothing to sell here.
It looks like a sad person lives
Oh,
here.
man.
He got
You're
divorced, spilled wine on the carpeting, and didn't care enough to replace it.
You haven't taken care of yourself, and you're obviously not trying to move on in a way.
She called him
But
out.
I can.
That sounds nice.
This is a weird relationship between these two.
We love the idea that she would keep her kid a secret because we know that that is definitely
Oh,
a
yeah.
deal breaker
I
for
totally see
the
that,
kind
yeah.
of man she's interested in.
Where the hell were you?
Good morning to you, too.
She is
Terrible
a
babysitter.
working mom. I don't think anyone expected Joan to be that person. And she is devoted to her son, but she
she's gonna
still
make these monies.
has her job. And that ambition is what is fascinating.
She loves the
I'm
work.
a heel. Okay.
You're a dick is what you are.
No, it's
She
my
should have broke it off right here, man.
I thought
Yes,
about
it
it, and
ends
I'm
up the
sending
same
my
way
son
anyway.
away.
I love Joan standing up for herself. Christina's so good at that scene. You really don't
Look at
know where it's
maniacal,
going for a second.
diabolical little pixie.
What?
If I have to choose between you and my son, I choose you.
Really?
That's not what I said.
That's exactly what you said.
Yep. Eat my ass.
What I found
She
the
should have
most
kicked him out.
compelling was telling this Sally story. And the Sally story is about what kind of person am I? And the acknowledgement of what kind
I
of
don't think
person
we got
Don
any
is.
Sally in the last episode, did we? I don't think
When I
we
watch
did.
television, the commercials are my favorite part.
I don't think Don
Weirdo.
is really flirting with her. It's just the idea for Sally that every relationship is sexualized with them.
Aren't you going to introduce me?
I'm Glenn Bishop. We lived up the street
Glenn, that
last
was
night.
his fucking name.
Glenn?
I can't believe
My
she didn't
goodness.
recognize him, to be honest with you.
For Betty to see him all grown up and to see him be a man,
He probably died in
I know
Vietnam,
something could
yeah.
happen to me, but I feel safe because I know you're mine.
Talk about your
and
nepotism
that
there, Matthew.
moment when he makes a pass at her, I wouldn't say that she's not thinking about it.
Glenn, stop.
Why?
Because I'm married.
I love that she says I'm married.
Huh.
And I love their connection. His desire
Of
to
course you
rescue
do.
her, his desire to take care of her. He will always be the knight in
You
shining
love the
armor.
nepotism is what
But
you love.
we show that Betty had grown into an adult by her rejection and responsibility in this moment.
Hey,
Quit being an
I'm your
asshole.
father. You may not want to listen to this, but you are like your mother.
That's right.
You're going to find that out.
Read her out.
You're a very beautiful girl. It's up to you to be more than that.
Dom says
good
to
advice.
her, it's your job to make something of yourself. And I think that he thinks about himself as well, who he was, not just what was to come.
Hello?
Oh,
I pulled it off. Get the fuck out. I don't want them to see your sad, lonely ass.
I did it. I don't know how, but they're signing.
Really?
Now we have to find a place for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want to control your future and have anticipation about it, but sometimes it just happens to you. You're compelled into the future,
That's right.
into change.
You have no place now.
Caroline!
Yeah.
The firm is in trouble. They're in a crisis.
Do you read the
Let's
mail
get
or
rid
you
of this
just open
fucking
it?
place.
They did sell the agency at the end of the first half of the season.
McCann's moving us to their building. We lost our lease.
So we're moving?
And they did lose something. Their autonomy.
Yep.
No, Pete, I don't think that's all there is to it.
Break them up.
We're being swallowed up.
What's
Yep.
fun for
That's
us
what happened.
is that we are telling the entire story of advertising in this decade.
Right.
The consolidation of it, the break off of boutique firms, the stock offerings, the IPOs that went on,
Yep.
Sterling Cooper, Draper Price, or whatever form you want to take it, has gone through what happened to the advertising agency.
That's a good point.
including now being swallowed up by McCann.
I don't think you understand what's
These
happening.
are things that happened.
You passed the test.
It's a double-edged sword between their self-interest and the interests of the company.
Right. The
What is
company's
going
over.
on?
What have you heard?
Everyone's living in a fright.
The reality
A
of what
fright,
they
I tell
did
you.
is coming home to roost, and most of the firm is going to be cut loose.
Yep. You're out of here.
In the midst of this battle, Pete is called in to help Trudy out with this private school problem. Well,
That's how
Hello,
they
Trudy.
reconnect, really.
Pete came to the rescue as much as possible.
We're not leaving until you apologize to Trudy.
They are both getting older. I think that's what you're seeing, and you're seeing them sort of lapse into a more healthy relationship, considering they're divorced.
Why did you only apply to one school?
I had a backup, but well, the head of admissions is
Incompetent.
a little fresh with me.
Oh. Okay.
What
I
school?
guess that's a
His
good
spark
excuse.
has not gone out, and when it comes to defending her.
You shouldn't let a child play with dangerous things. You shouldn't have abandoned her in a midtown office
Yeah,
building.
dumbass.
Peggy has this fight with a stage mom, and I think she
He knows about
doesn't
stage
like
moms,
being
I'm sure.
told,
You do what you want with your children. I do what I want with mine.
which really affects her. And being judged by Stan as someone who didn't have children because she wanted a career.
Yep.
And we know that that is actually true.
I don't
Yep.
hate kids.
I love that
Yes,
her
you do.
defensiveness and her guilt are sort of driving it.
Maybe she was very young and followed her heart and got in trouble.
She's still an asshole.
And no one should have to make a mistake, just like a man does, and not be able to move on.
I think she wants him to know the kind of person that she is.
Right.
What did you do?
Yep. He knows.
With a family somewhere.
It's a confession that shows that she and Stan are really friends.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I like the fact that you feel that Peggy has regrets, but also has made peace with her decision.
I don't know, but
It was really about her. It was never about the kid.
because I don't care.
Because I was thinking about like the fact they never went back to that. You know,
I don't know because you're not supposed to know.
she's gonna live with that for the rest of her
Keep
life.
going with your life.
I feel like I should make a toast.
Again,
Well, we didn't drink to Cooper.
That's right. You better drink the Cooper, asshole.
glad I missed it.
The story of the episode was really about finding out how alone Don is. Right?
Yeah. No shit.
People keep peeling away.
Yep.
Joan has Richard to go to.
Went down swinging.
Pete has had this interaction with Trudy and wants to check in on her. Ted has his girlfriend to go to.
Right.
Roger has Marie to go
They're all
to.
leaving.
Eventually,
Look
in
at it.
this
You're all
moment,
alone.
Don is left alone at the bar.
Sad drunk. We're out of here. Fuck off.
I love the sort of feeling of revolt as they turn their backs on
Fuck
the
off.
partners and walk away at the end.
Yep. Go to hell. You got a nice thing going on here.
I'm Don Draper from McCann Erickson.
Yeah. I'm not gonna be here very long.
Don starts off with this great new theme. He seems like he's going to be very special. He's the white whale.
We just
Yep.
bought an entire agency in Milwaukee to get Miller beer.
For me?
I've been trying to get you for 10 years.
That's true.
And I think when he walks into that meeting and sees that he is one color in a box of 100,
Yeah.
Is this every creative director in the agency? It's only half of us.
that
Jesus
he's
Christ.
going to be part of this crowd. And who knows
He
if
can't
it's
stand
just
out.
that he's not a team player or if that he can't
What do
function
you mean,
in a
who
place
knows?
that
You
big.
should
But
know.
I
You're the
think
fucking
he just
writer.
looks out the window and sees that airplane and thinks about what else is there.
Can't handle it, man.
And I think that he thinks
really is a
about
horse.
himself, how alone he is,
Fragile.
and what else there is in life. They go to work at McCann, and we see
It
immediately that Peggy's having a hard time getting over there.
There was a mix-up. This isn't ready.
But I think the audience is worried the way she is about whether this is really going to happen.
You think you're gonna have fun like this over there?
Peggy and Roger was the idea that it was sort of a ghost story.
Right.
Okay, hot stuff.
That the ghost has to be let go of the building.
Right.
I think he has a lot to tell her.
This business doesn't have feelings. Even if your name's on the damn door, you should know better than to get attached to some walls.
Roger isn't ready to go. He just needs a push. And keeps saying the opposite of what he feels the way he does, which is that
Right, yeah,
I
that
really
makes sense.
shouldn't care about this place, but I do.
This was a hell of a boat, you know?
It's all
They
going to
agreed
shit.
that it was an incredible place.
Come on.
I think you see an equality between the two of them, a mentorship and a friendship.
They didn't have enough scenes together. The fuck are you doing?
The nice thing is that it does work out for Peggy, and she does walk in there with her head held high, with Cooper's poster under her arm.
Hell yeah. Run this shit.
I have a little news for you.
Oh, I hope I
Now
didn't cause
this.
any trouble.
On the other hand, for Joan, we see right away that she's not going to get the same respect that she got.
Joan, see it from his side. He has a wife and 3 children. He's not going to work for a girl.
Yeah. What do those two things have to do with
And
each other?
it's a very interesting dynamic. There's no doubt that she is being treated badly because she is a woman, because she worked her way up at SCMP to a very important position. And I hope that the audience is on both sides, despite all of the harassment
Nah, I
that
was
is along
only
the
on
way.
Joan's
They
side.
should totally be on her side.
What's the problem?
Well, I don't think that Ferg Donnelly is a good match.
But she
His name
is
is
coming
Ferg.
into a new agency and demanding terms.
Your little stake doesn't mean anything here.
I'm
I just
perfectly happy
disagree
to
with
take
him.
my $500,000 and be on my way.
And her money.
I'm willing to give you 50 cents
Yeah, it
on
was
the
50
dollar
cents, that's what I
to
thought.
never see your face again.
Yeah, goddamn, dude.
I guess I wasn't clear.
Yeah. Get me
I'm
paid,
not
bitch.
negotiating.
This is a line that I think is a lot about what the season's about when she says
It's not about the money.
It's only about the money.
she's implying that it's a political decision and that it's about what's right. And Roger says
Don't hide behind politics. Take the money and be done with them.
I'm
that
with
money
you on that.
will be the freedom.
Tell me it's a deal.
Dumbass.
Don goes off to find Diana.
Who the heck are you?
The guy's gonna kick your ass.
And I
You don't
think
get
you
on my
see
face.
a door being permanently closed.
Again.
I need
for
to know
Don,
the
by the way.
whereabouts.
Again.
Last I heard, she was in New York.
And I think Don also realizes that he's dredged up something awful for those people.
Yeah, that was.
I
a bitch
lost
move.
my daughter to God and my wife to the devil. I lost everything.
Well,
Don't come
boogie
back.
boogie for you, bitch.
And it ends with him on the road, heading
Dumbass.
we don't even know where.
Yeah, neither does he. I don't think there's two sides to that story, man. Like, I mean, I get what he's saying about her coming in demanding terms. But, see, she didn't walk in the door demanding terms. She was treated like shit, and then she demanded terms. Like, you can't treat people this way. If you have the power to do it, but if you have the power to do it, I'm not in any way, shape, or form going to be on your side. If that was his intention, he didn't write it correctly. You know, it's just the whole thing. Well, we saw the episode, right? Like, you look at everything that was said and how everything played out throughout the entire course of the episode. There's only one side. There's Joan's side. Like, it surprises me to hear him say that he wanted people to be 50% on each side, or at least, 70-30 maybe or something. No, like, there's Joan's side, and then there's the wrong side as far as I'm concerned. Because it's not about her demanding terms. She didn't walk in the door, hey, everybody kiss my ass. She was treated unfairly, and she stood up for herself. If she had been a man, that shit wouldn't have happened that way. No way, right? So like that is the fundamental flaw in what he's saying, right? It like say the same shit happened with Don. And maybe it wasn't because he was a man, but like say he drinks too much, so they're treating him like shit because he drinks too much, and they don't respect him. Look at it from his point of view. You drink too much. Why would he take orders from you or whatever, right? Like, things wouldn't have progressed the way they did with her. So, Like, if that was his intention, I think he dropped the ball.
A lot of what I wanted to do in episode 13 was to see Don on the road and do an episode of The Fugitive. The real formative event in his life was taking this man's identity, and he's still troubled by it.
Yeah.
You see these veterans, that they have as much of a support group, in quotes, which there was no such term for at the time.
Right.
You did what you had to do.
They're dealing with their PTSD, which also there was no term
badly
for yet, by sharing it with each other.
I killed my CO.
We've seen him tell the story. He never tells it as honestly as he did. For Betty, her way of dealing with it is so strong, but also so Betty. It is not warm.
It's very Betty.
These are instructions.
I don't know about strong.
Open it the minute you know I'm gone.
We also see Sally having to accept the way her mother does things.
Right.
No.
Finally.
Listen to me. Things happen very quickly when people die. Henry's not going to be able to handle things.
And we see Betty sort of accepting everything, accepting that this is the end of her life.
I don't want you to think I'm a quitter. I've fought for plenty in
Even
my
if
life.
I am.
That's how I know when it's over. To know when to move on.
Sally might be right.
He doesn't know you won't get treatment because you love the tragedy.
She may love the tragedy, but in that tragedy, she's kind of stepped up.
That was a great line.
Oh my God, what's wrong?
I hate this so much. Hey, it's whatever. I'm not saying it's bad writing, because it's not.
He would have to give the pitch of a lifetime to talk Trudy back into it, because she's had it, and I think he
I just
does.
don't like it.
I want you and Tammy.
Look at him pitching. He's just doing a fucking ad pitch. I just realized he framed it that way, and I realized what Pete's doing here.
We've seen over the course of this season that he is filled with regret, certainly, and grown a little bit in terms of his appreciation of Trudy. I love Don not having a too on-the-nose conversation with this kid who's a hustler and losing his car.
Pink slips in the glove box.
He gave up his car. He didn't lose it. Dumbass.
What? Stripping himself of that, but telling this kid,
don't waste this.
Don't do what I did. The audience will understand that and appreciate it, but it's really about Don sort of being peeled away.
I see what they're going for, but so much of it is voluntary, which I guess is part of the point. Now that I think about it.
Now that it's hanging in the air, that Don has run away to find himself. He's a millionaire on the road with no problems, and he is completely isolated. The idea that the only thing that's keeping him from being happy is the belief that he's alone has been proven that he is alone.
Yep.
Don is in the process of becoming something.
So, you're in Utah?
Broke the land speed record right at the bottom.
The other stories in it are about this idea of becoming something else. And for Betty, it's about becoming somebody who's not there.
That's poignant.
Francis
I'm
resident?
gonna kill that bitch.
He wants to get back involved, and Betty says absolutely not.
This way you see them exactly as much as you do now. On weekends and... Oh, wait, Don. When was the last time you saw them?
Once she's gone, he can fight this.
Now Don
he probably won't, though.
Has to listen to the wisdom of his ex-wife, his child, and he's a mess. Joan ends up basically picking her job.
Good luck, Joan.
In some strange way, Joan is the feminist of the show. She is a single mom who's going to be running her own business and will not let a man decide what she's going to do.
Exactly.
Well, hello,
this
Jeff.
is the right
Sorry
choice.
about that.
You look back to the first episode, you can never imagine that that's what that woman's looking for.
Joan said she wants to go into business, and I'd be her partner.
Stan tells her to be happy where she is.
Working for a producer? That's not even what you do.
But what he's really saying is don't go.
He could have went with her.
Life and work.
Selfish asshole. They're great friends, but the romance didn't feel earned to me. That's how I feel.
Don is on the verge of having a nervous breakdown, basically.
Yeah.
And he's taken into an encounter group.
The encounter group, I think,
One
was
of
probably the
us
best thing to happen to him.
was willing to reduce the conflict.
He's just sitting there numb. And then this man starts to tell his story.
The light goes off.
That was awesome.
That moment when he is moved by another human being, when he goes outside himself.
Right, exactly.
Don is not alone.
Yeah.
That's his growth. is realizing that.
It's not just about
We
cheap
leave
motherfucker.
everybody slightly improved.
Un bouteille de champagne
Slightly
pour ma mère.
That's a good way to put it.
How may I help you?
That's probably how you pitch it to the writers. We leave everybody slightly improved.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Really? You have nothing to say about anything else, huh? Bitch ass. Well, that's not all I'm gonna say. I think they stuck the landing with all the characters. Look, yeah, I disapprove of Pete and Trudy, but whatever, man. Like, that's their character, right? Like, they stuck the landing with all the characters. I don't agree with all the character decisions. Like, Pete and Trudy shouldn't be together. Trudy should definitely not. I understand Pete wanting that. Trudy shouldn't want that. But just because I disagree with character choices doesn't mean it's not a great story, right? Like, so that's fine. I think Peggy should have done the producing thing, the writing thing. But I guess her fate is to be the first female creative director in 1975, right? So I think we left things around 72, 73, somewhere around there. In a couple of years, she'll be a creative director, and she will earn that. So that was the right decision for her, even though I would have done the other thing. Roger, obviously, the best thing for him. We don't know what's going to happen with Sally. I don't think we leave Sally slightly improved, but like, she's young. She's going to grow into who she is. We won't see that unless there's a sequel series, which I hope there is. I really, really hope there is. I would watch the hell out of that. The interesting thing is, if they do a sequel series, say, in the 80s, by the time they did that, we'd be as far removed from the 80s as we were far removed from the 60s when the original series was done. But I like that. I feel like they stuck the landing with the characters. I don't feel like they stuck the landing with the show. So much is left unanswered. So much is left unresolved. Obviously, intentionally. Look at the way he ended the fucking interview. That's all I'm going to say, right? He knows he's leaving it open, and he knows people want more, and he's not going to give it to them. So that's just not the way I would tell a story. I don't think that's why, if I was to rate the series would get probably a 9.5 out of 10, which is really high for me. I think only about 10 or fewer shows I've ever watched. I've watched a shitload of shows from beginning to end. Would ever have a score that high. So it's really up there. It's a better show than The Sopranos. I mean, I know this is going to, like, a lot of people are like giving me thumbs down at the moment as I say this, but this is a better show than The Sopranos. This had more of a plan. Sopranos just was sporadic and erratic and chaotic, and just there was no overall plan. Shit just happened. And even though this was also an open ending, this is a better open ending than The Sopranos open ending was. So, I just think that it doesn't work for me. The way they ended it doesn't work for me. Like, what the hell? I guess they're saying he went back to McCann. They definitely implied that. He went back to McCann, and he was the one that did he was responsible for that ad campaign. But the thing is, since we now know McCann's a real ad agency, and apparently they were the ad agency that brought out that Coke. They had Coke, and so they did that famous ad campaign. They don't want a fictional character to take credit for a real human being's work. So they didn't want to explicitly say that. They just want to imply it. I think that's probably why they did it the way they did. That's just kind of wimpy to me. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't work for me. Like, it just doesn't work for me. But a great series, a great ride. And I love the thematic connection between how long it takes me to finish the series with Don's wandering all over the world. Like, there's some parallels there. It was not intentional, but it worked out that way. So I guess there's a little Don Draper in me. More than a little, probably. Not the cheating thing, but the rest of it for sure.